Hi guys, and welcome to the Bookmas video where we'll be going through together the top 100 new releases of 2026 to kind of see which ones we should be adding to our TBR and which ones I personally am most excited for, because it's always a fun time. And so let's just jump right in. I forgot to mention, but this is also the first video of the second half of December Bookmas, which is so cool because we're going strong all 24 days. I have decided I'm gonna lock in and we're gonna do that. But for today's sit down, I figured if we go through all of these 100, at least the top 100 releases together, not just can we decide which ones we have to set on our calendar so we can be excited for them together, but then also it's kind of saving me some time from having to Google the old-fashioned way if all of my favorite authors like Abby Jimenez and Annabelle Monaghan are coming up with new books next year, because I know I want to be reading them. It's just that sometimes I'm not aware, and then if I become aware, I know they're definitely on my radar to get to, because while in this year specifically I was more religious with reading new books, I feel like it's definitely such like a rite of passage to still go along with it and still be on the side of the internet wherein you're actually waiting and expecting like a kid on Christmas morning, the morning of your favorite author's new book getting released and whatnot. And so I feel like it'll be fun to kind of do that, number one. And number two, I want to be starting to set out my 2026 reading journal whenever I get to it, hopefully soon. And so I feel like in that, when I include one of the spreads being 26 books to read in 26, I can definitely take back from this video, because at that point it's just going to make my life easy knowing which new releases I want to be getting to add to that list, which is why here we are. I'm just going to scroll through them, and then any ones that catch my eye and then I'm excited and interested for is what we'll be really discussing today. And I have it zoomed in so you can actually also see what's going on screen. So here we are. Let's start. Okay, and for the first one, we're already coming in strong with the fantasy, which is so cool because already this year I've been getting so much deeper into that genre, which is so good for me because I used to love reading it back in middle school, and now going back to it as a grown up, it's so much more fun actually seeing the changes it's taken over the decades and whatnot. But I feel like this one specifically, while I do have the first book in the series, I haven't read that one yet. My sister got it for my birthday, I believe last year at this point, and so if I get to that in the span of next year, I will definitely read this. And because I have started reading fantasy again, I feel like there's a very good chance that I will, because I only just started in the last couple months, and so I definitely didn't get the time to go back to my physical TBR and fully immerse myself into it. But once I do, and once I actually get to the first book in the series, and if I do end up, this is definitely going to be on my 26 reading, because I usually love giving like fantasy a couple chances at least to see if the series is something I will enjoy, and if it is, I don't mind continuing it. So this is like a maybe. Okay, now we have the third book on the list, which is a Freida McFadden. Now before you ask me where the second book went, I'm only going to be speaking about the ones I'm actually interested in reading, which is why I skipped that one, because I'm not. But this one, however, is a new Freida book, which means I definitely have to get to it, because I feel like her books, for me personally, are like hits or misses depending on how it feels like, but it doesn't matter either way, because the whole journey and the sitting down getting excited about a new Freida book and going through all the twists and how ridiculous it gets sometimes and how outrageous the plots are despite of what not happens at the very end, I still feel like it's really fun. It feels kind of like giving candy to a kid, except I'm the kid and I'm also consuming the candy and I'm also giving it to myself. So that was a really weird metaphor. The whole point behind it all is I'm excited to read this one because I am always excited to read her books. I feel like the premise is always crazy, and even if the ending does not get me, it was a fun time overall, which is why this is definitely going to be in my reading for 2026. This is interesting because I did read one of my first books by this author. I think that was the only book I read by this author so far in my reading journey this year. It was called Beautiful Ugly, her new release for this year. It was on my 25 to read in 25, and I got to it as soon as it came out. But I feel like I'm not sure if I'll be getting to this, because I feel like you really need to convince me whether Alice Feeney is a great author or not, because that one, it was a good book, do not get me wrong, but in the moment it took me so long to get through it because I feel like it was just so slow and dull during the first. I would like to say maybe like 70% odd. It really just gets good towards the end, and then the ending definitely got me. The very like last plot twist and stuff, they got me, and I feel like her writing style is also cool. Actually, no, I'm so sorry, I've read a different book by her, I just remembered, but that was like a couple years ago, called Good Bad Girl, and I felt the same way I'm feeling about Beautiful Ugly as I felt about that, because it took so long to build up that I was bored by the very end of it when we actually got the plot twists. So now I'm not sure if I want to read this, because I know the plot twist will go crazy. Both of the other two books I've read by her, they are wild, but then actually getting to their part and the build up, for me, sometimes it isn't it. So maybe I will, maybe I won't, we'll just have to see. Maybe I will actually go back and read the really popular one of her backlist. I think it's called Rock, Paper, Scissors, and if I enjoy that, then I'll continue to go through her backlist. But if not, this is definitely an option. We will see if I end up getting to it. And this is something, don't count your hopes on it if it'll be in my 26 wrap-up or not, because again, it really just depends on a bunch of factors, but here we are. This one is 100%. The day it was announced, I follow Abby Jimenez on Instagram, by the way. The day it was announced, I absolutely started freaking the shit out because I was checking my notifications, saw it, and I was like, no way, it's happening. And so this is my Super Bowl. This is definitely something I'm going to be getting to, because I feel like out of 2025, my favorite author to come was probably Abby Jimenez. I love her books so much. At this point, I haven't read too many, but I feel like the ones I have read are like such god-tier books, the best ones I've ever read, that I have to read more by her. And the first one in this series, I just recently got myself a physical copy, even though I read it, I think, over the summertime, and it was called Say You'll Remember Me. And even though the first time I read it, I gave it like 4.5 stars, now I want to go and reread in advance because I want to prepare for this one. I want to get excited for summer, and it feels like a 5 because I haven't stopped thinking about it since I read it, which means that's all great signs pointing towards how good this one's gonna be. And while I do know that it follows one of the guys in the friend group, the premise is a little too confusing for me to understand. So regardless, I'm just gonna go in blind now during the time it comes out, because that's still cool. It's kind of like getting a surprise gift in the mail and actually getting to enjoy that firsthand, which is what I'll be doing with this book. And so that's gonna be on my TBR 100% for next year. Okay, this one, I read the first book in this series. It was called First Time Caller, I think during like early summer or something like that this year. And while that one was like okay, I had like a good time because I feel like it was funny enough. And while the romance, you know, I was disappointed a little bit in it because I definitely had my gripes with it. At this point, I definitely do want to go back and see where the series continues and whatnot, because the characters in this, I found out that they are ones we already actually met in that book, First Time Caller, and I do remember the guy being absolutely hilarious. And so I want to see where their story goes, despite the fact that First Time Caller wasn't like my favorite romance. It was a good romance by itself, but then, you know, again, if you want my full thoughts, you can definitely go watch the video where it was in. It's just, it wasn't the best book I've ever read, and that is not the end of the world. I will still continue to read this. I definitely do enjoy this author's books as like palate cleansers, I found out, because I read First Time Caller, and then I think this week and whatnot I read Love Light Farms, which was also cool. And so at this point, I just want to go back and kind of get to this whenever it comes out, and I definitely will. So on Book Talk, I've heard great things about this author, but I've heard nothing about this book so far. So I think around the time it comes out, I will check it out only if people seem to be loving it, because I feel like with mystery thriller books and stuff, they all generally tend to follow the same plotline and whatnot, and it feels like sometimes it's overdone. So it really just has to be like mind-blowing for the entire internet if it has to be something I'll pick up, which is why if I skip over any like popular mystery thrillers that come up on the list, it's probably going to be because number one, I don't really know anything about it, or I haven't read that author's past work that I can go and judge off of that and then decide if I want to. And so I'm still making up my mind. If it is something people end up enjoying, I will get to it. But for now, I don't know yet. So this is a maybe. Okay. The thing is, I read Twisted this year and I did not enjoy it. I was on the part of the internet wherein I couldn't believe what I'd read in the first place, because I don't understand why it's so hyped to begin with. It just wasn't for me. And so I have actually gone back and, you know, taken the decision that if I do have to pick up this series by Anna Huang, the same author as Twisted, I will read the first 2 books in the series only. And if I definitely do not like those, then I will not be getting to the rest of the series. So while this is on my want to read, at least for the moment, I will definitely take it off my want to read if I realize that I did not enjoy the series whenever I end up getting to it. And so until then, it's again going to be a huge maybe, because I definitely don't think I will enjoy it, which is why we'll just have to see when the time comes around. Her books are not for me, and that's not the end of the world, but I feel like if I'm forcing myself to kind of go through a series that I genuinely just am disliking, it's better just not to pick it up in the first place, like I did for Twisted, which is why I won't force myself to continue. I've already read 4 of those books and had enough. I'll read 2 more, and if I don't like it, that's the end of the story. But this is the next one, again a huge maybe. This book on the other hand is a definitely, because I feel like the Dream Harbor series, while I don't necessarily love the romance, I definitely complain about it whenever I finish it. I feel like the whole small town vibes and how everyone's like a nosy busybody and up into every single person's business, and like the life and the drama, and I guess the whole found family situation that comes with small town, I definitely do enjoy that portrayal in these books. And I feel like at this point, I'm a little too invested in this series to back out, because even though the romance is like hilariously bad, I take it in stride for these books specifically. I like going along with it and kind of reading it because of number one, the cute covers, and number two, just to see where it'll go and kind of humor myself as I'm going alongside it, because even if I don't enjoy it, there's always something to laugh over, and it's always good to laugh. So this I definitely will get to, even if I end up not enjoying it and whatnot, because I don't care, it's happening. It's gonna happen, which is why here we are with this one. Heartstopper, I've heard such amazing things while I've been on my whole reading journey throughout the last couple years, and I want next year to actually be the year that I actually lock in and read them. And because they're all like graphic novels, I feel like there's definitely a chance that I'll get to this, because I know I want to read the first Heartstopper book at least next year, which is why if I end up enjoying those, and if I actually get through the rest of the series by the time I get to this one, because it is in the middle of the series, then I definitely will go ahead and read this. But again, it really depends. And also because I want to read the books and then I can watch the show. So at this point, I don't have an excuse, I kind of have to, but we'll see. This is definitely on the maybe list, and I feel like so many are on the maybe list at this point, but yeah, it's kind of hard for me to make up my mind when it comes to these things sometimes, which is why here we are with this one again in a maybe. This one again, however, is going to be an absolute definite, because I feel like the other book I've read by Ashley Elston, it's called First Lie Wins. That one was so good. It was like one of the best mystery books I've read coming out of last year, which is why I want to see what more this author writes and stuff, because I really enjoyed that one like so much. I've still been thinking about it. Fast forward a couple years later now to end of 2025 since I read it, which means it's a great book. I have to go reread and then give it 5 stars, the 5 stars that I actually truly deserve from day one. And so this is definitely on my TBR because I'm so excited. She's such like a favorite author, even though I've only read one book, which means I have to get to this when it comes out, and I will. See, this one again is a questionable maybe, because I've read 2 of this author's books. And while I didn't necessarily like have the worst time with one of them, I feel like the other one was truly horrendous in my opinion. And so I don't know if I'll be getting to this or not. Again, it really just has to be something that people end up enjoying, and then maybe I'll pick it up. But also the cover is cute, so at some point if I get FOMO, I know I'll cave, because that's the kind of person I am. And so we just have to see, because the one with the yellow cover by the same author, I think it was called This Summer Will Be Different, that one was really good in terms of like the romance and yearning. It definitely fell off at some point because it got physical, but the yearning at the beginning was really fun to go along with, and the whole summer setting, the vibes were also cool. So I am definitely interested to see more of her backlist through. But then also it really depends, because if it's something like the pink covered book that I read of hers, I don't even remember the name, but if it's something like that, then I just know I won't want to get to it, because I feel like that was just like a carbon copy of all the most popular books ever, and it was done in like the worst way possible, which is why again a huge maybe, but we'll have to see. Okay, so this series I haven't actually gotten to yet, but I had it on my TBR to kind of get to last year, because I was seeing like a bunch of amazing things, and then I found out that it was going to be a trilogy or something like that, which is why I think I didn't get around to it, which is why maybe I will get to it next year, because again I want to get back into fantasy and like become a hardcore fantasy reader, because those books are like so good these days for me, which is why maybe I'll get to this, because if I end up enjoying the first 2 books in the series, I think I definitely will. And because I definitely do want to read like a different book by this author, it's called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That one I'm 100% getting to next year. If I end up enjoying that, this is gonna again be a definitely, because I feel like if I enjoy a book by an author, I'm very likely to enjoy their backlist in that same manner too. And so again, it's a maybe for now because I haven't gotten to it yet, but if I do, again this could be such a banger and slay, because the kind of girlies I've heard talking about it online and the way they rave about it, I want to be part of that fan club, I want to be part of that group, and so maybe I will next year. We shall just have to see. Okay, sorry about like the 2-second delay that you'll see on screen, but I was kind of trying to figure out why this was on my want to read in the first place, because I don't remember the author, I don't remember the name of the series, and so actually found out that I added it to my Goodreads, but I haven't gotten to the first book yet in the series. So again, if I do end up getting to it, it's called Metal Slinger or something like that. I've heard great things online, and if I end up loving it, I definitely will read this. Again, it really just depends on like series and stuff, because if the book is in the middle of a series, and if it's not too far into the series, and if like the first or second or whatever book I've read of the series so far does not end up on like a cliffhanger, then I definitely know I'll get to those kind of books next year. It really just depends if I end up reading the first book in the first place, which is why here we are for this one. We just have to see again, but it's like a maybe on the more positive side, because I feel like I am getting into fantasy now. I can definitely foresee myself reading it if I get to the first book in the series, which again I sound like a broken tape recorder, but it might happen, so here we are. Okay, this one I know I'm definitely getting to in the series or whatnot because I have read the first 2 books in it. I read Caught Up around the time it came out or whatnot this year, and I remember not enjoying the romance very much, but the way it ended off, I feel like these books, I didn't enjoy either of them, the 2 that I've read by this author, Lights Out and Caught Up, but at this point I definitely do want to just continue the series and see where it goes because of the dramatics in it, because of the humor in it, not the romance. So because I'm not a fan of the romance, I know I won't enjoy this one specifically, but I want to read it anyway because the kind of turns the last book takes towards the very end, and then the kind of setting it's given you for this one specifically. There's one character that you would not expect in a certain position, and now I want to see how it goes through with that, which is the only reason why I'm actually going to read this, which is why this is definitely on my TBR for next year. It's happening even though I might not like it, and so we'll just have to keep my fingers crossed for the romance that it actually serves for me. But otherwise I feel like the mystery, the kind of elements that come with the whole dark romance side of this, that might get me, and I know the humor definitely will because the first couple of books were actually kind of funny, the first one especially, and so let's just pray that things continue the same way along, but this is definitely going to be there for me in 2026. Okay, and so I've actually heard amazing things about this author's other book called The Wishing Game, and so again, the thing is, if I end up getting to that, I will get to this in time for the release and whatnot, because like I said, I'm getting into fantasy, and if I enjoy that, this will definitely be on my TBR. It depends on so many factors, like if I end up getting to that book, but if I do, this will be there, so you can kind of look forward to it. But if you want me to read it anyway, again, for any specific book in this blog, definitely leave it down in the comments for me so I can get to it, because I don't really mind reading for y'all. It's just me personally, I kind of do have to go back and make up my mind on many different things, which is why I'm kind of conflicted, but here we are regardless. Throne of Nightmares, I'm not so sure, because it definitely is on my want to read, and it is a fantasy book, so I definitely could get to it, but at the same time, I do believe you're supposed to be reading Kingdom of the Wicked, that series first, and I have the first book in it, so it's not like I can skip that completely and just jump right into it, and that's like 3 books, and this is also in the middle of the series, and so, again, it really just depends if I end up reading all of them and if I end up enjoying them, because I know I will. It definitely caters towards my kind of taste and the kind of quotes and scenes I've seen online, the way people describe it. I know I'm gonna like it. It's just, it really depends if I end up getting to it next year, then I will get to this. And if I don't, we can kind of save it for my TBR next year. I don't know, we'll see. But if I end up liking it, this is definitely gonna be there. And if I end up getting through all of them, but yeah, this is again a huge maybe. I'm sorry if all of them are becoming maybes, but at the same time, again, like I said, don't know how to make up my mind. I'm a Gemini, what do you really expect? And so, moving on. I know I said that I'd only speak about books that I was probably gonna read, like a definite yes or like a maybe, but this one, I just wanted to give like a quick mention because I don't think I'm ever gonna read more of Devney Perry's books after I'm done with the Eden series. Yesterday I finished out like the little novella, I think it's called Christmas in Quincy or something like that, as I was finishing out the other Christmas books. And all I'm gonna say is, I don't know why, every few months I subject myself to go back to the Eden series to kind of see it through, regardless of how ridiculous they are and how much I hate the romance in them. They just keep falling off. But at this point, I'm just gonna see that series through and then be done with this author for good, which is why I'm never gonna read Shield of Sparrows, even though I've heard such amazing things about it, because at this point, I don't even think it's gonna be for me, which is why I'm just giving this a quick shout out to say that I know I won't be reading this one. I don't want to discount things, because if I get to that book and if that turns out to be great and I get to this, then I'm gonna become a meme for having said I didn't want to read it in the first place. But then again, it really just depends. But there's too many factors counting for it to depend, which is why I'm gonna have to say for now at least, I would believe that this would be a definitely not, because of the fact that maybe if I finish the Eden Zone and whatnot, I think I'll just be done with this author, which is why we'll have to see, but probably not. This one, on the other hand, if I have the time, I definitely will read this next year, because I read Famous Last Words, which was this author's new release for this year, and I was on the side of the internet where it was definitely like longer to get into and it was slower, but once it hit me and I continued with it, I actually ended up enjoying this, even though the rest of like majority of the people didn't, which is why maybe I will pick this up. Again, it really depends. If I end up really getting into the mood for it, if people end up hyping it, I definitely will get to it sooner, but I know I want to read this because I enjoyed that book by this author and I will get to this sometime. It depends if I have the time to get to it in the first place, because if I do, you will see this in my read list. If I don't, I'll get to it at my own sweet time. It's just I won't be looking forward to this as a new release sitting on the edge of my seat. It's something that if it comes my way, yeah, maybe, and again, it's like a huge okay, maybe-ish. So here we are. This one, I've got the first book in the series as a physical copy on my shelf. So again, it's like a maybe, wherein if I end up reading that and if I end up liking it, because it's fantasy and I know I'm loving fantasy these days, so next year really looks like it's gonna be like a fantasy filled year for me, then I definitely will get to this when it comes out. But again, it depends if I can get through the first like couple books in the series before I get to this, because it's in the middle of a series, which is why here we are. If I end up getting through those and actually liking those and wanting to see them through, then this will be on my read list. Again, it really depends, because I feel like so many of the books on this list so far have all just been books in the middle of series, and they aren't necessarily series I've started, so I can't really say a lot about them. But if I end up enjoying it, you will see on my read list. So here we are. This is gonna be a definitely, because the things I've seen about this book so far online with the wedding setting and everything, and the fact that it's Katherine center, I will read it, because this year's book by her, I think it was called The Love Haters. When I read it, I was kind of unsure about it, but once I finished it, I realized I actually enjoyed it all along. I was just iffy about a couple bits, and the fact that I've read The Bodyguard by her, and that's like a huge 6-star read for me, I feel like I definitely have to get to this at some point. Maybe I'll reread The Bodyguard because I want to reread that so bad, and then I'll read this after that or whatnot, so we could do that together. But this is definitely going to happen in 26, because listen, it's Katherine center. You cannot blame a girl for wanting to go back to her books, and because I do believe The Bodyguard's being turned into like a movie and stuff, so we could do it all over the weekend or whatnot, wherein we could watch the movie, we could reread Bodyguard and then read this together, and that would be like a fun thing to kind of hang out and look forward to doing together, which is why this is definitely happening. Okay, so this book, I definitely did read a different book by this author this year called That's Not My Name, and while I was kind of iffy and, you know, questioning things about that one specifically, that was like a very mid book in my opinion. This one was actually kindly sent to me as an arc, so I can probably say that I have an arc of the top 100 books, one of them, and it hasn't come out yet, but it comes out next year. And so if I end up getting to my arc, because it's definitely gonna be happening at some point, then it's definitely gonna be on my read list in 26. It's just that I'm not anticipating it breathlessly like I would some of the crazy top 5 authors of mine, which is why this is gonna happen, because I definitely do have the arc and I have opportunity. It depends on when the timing comes along. I sound like I'm solving a murder case. No, I'm not. I'm not Hercule Poirot. I'm just saying that if I get the time, then I will get to this, because I have the arc. I have no reason not to. I have read a different book by this author and would like to see where her new one goes next, because I did enjoy the writing style and the pacing kind of in that one, which is why we'll just have to see. But here we are. Just Friends, this is gonna be a 100% definite on the day it comes out, because while I've never read anything Hayley Pham's written, she was actually the reason I got back into reading, because it was her booktube video that was the very first one that came up on my feed that I ended up watching, and then I was just like, wait, I think I want to read books again. And this was after having taken a break since middle school, having not read it for so many years at this point, that I was just questioning if I enjoy reading in the first place anyway. And now that I have gotten back to reading, I really just have her to thank for her video, which is why I can't wait to see where this one goes, because I feel like the whole premise and the cover and whatnot, it really just screams like a summer fun romance book, and those are my favorite kind, especially the ones like by Emily Henry and stuff. And so far, when I've been watching her videos and kind of watching some of her early readers kind of read it, her friends and whatnot, the way they describe it and the quotes they kind of read out in their videos, already I'm so excited to get to this, because listen, it's Hayley Pham, it's definitely happening. So I will read this and I will be making a vlog on it the day it comes out. You will see me in the bookstore running to get it, which is why this is a 100% yes. This might be the top book I'm actually looking forward to next year, which is why yes, obviously yes. In no world would I say no to this, but yes. Okay, so last year I read the first couple books in the series called 9000 Hellbent. I love that I actually can say now that I've read the books in the series, because every time otherwise that books in the middle of series come up, especially fantasy, I'm always like, I don't know, because I haven't read the series, but I have for this one. And all I'm gonna say is I really enjoyed 9000 towards the very end of it. I know it was something that you need to have patience for and to kind of see through, and then you will kind of enjoy it. But for me personally, because I didn't, and that was like one of the first books I was reading, actually jumping into high core fantasy, that was kind of iffy at the moment. But now looking back, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And the second one in the series, Hellbent, was definitely not, because I didn't enjoy that. So if I get around to rereading those, then I'm definitely getting to this. But I know I will next year at some point anyway, even if it's not on the day it comes out, because I want to see where it goes. The kind of ending where you're left off at the very end of Hellbent, it's huge cliffhanger that I actually want to see resolved. And so again, the plans are that I'll reread 9000, because I just got my physical earlier this week and whatnot of it, so I'll reread that. Maybe I'll read Hellbent. It really depends again on my reread. If I enjoy 9000 a lot, then I will reread Hellbent. If I don't, Or if I do end up reading it but I don't have the time to reread Hellbent, or I'm just not in the mood, I'll read like a spoiler summary and then I'll get to this. But it's definitely happening next year because again, I want to see where that series goes, and I do believe this is going to be the last one. So that's breaking my heart, but I want to see it through, and I want to get into more of this author's books because I've heard like amazing things, especially about Six of Crows. So that's going to happen next year. This one also, at the time of me reading Silver Elite this year, because it was actually sent to me as an early copy and I got to read it before it was published, I actually really ended up liking it. But at the same time, it was one of the first fantasy books I was reading getting into fantasy again. At this point, I've read so much more, and so I'm able to actually decide which ones are good and which ones are not. And so while this one was definitely like a strong contender, looking back, it wasn't the 5 stars I gave it. It was more like 3.5, 4. And so I will be reading this book around the time it comes out because I want to see it through. I want to see where things go on out, especially after the ending we got in that, because that was wild. I don't know when I'll be getting to it. Maybe around the time it comes out. Who knows? But even if I do, even if I don't, this will definitely be on my 26 wrap-up. Hopefully it'll be a good one, so I do feel like continuing the series. But now that I actually am more solidified in my fantasy kind of rating and ranking system, this has to be really good to kind of blow my mind. And so I'm holding my fingers and crossing them out, holding hope, which is why we'll just have to see, but this will be on my wrap-up for sure. So this one is again in the middle of a series that I read only the first book of so far this year, but I do really remember enjoying that one so much, and I can't wait to get to the second one, especially of this series, because the way that character Rory Miller, he kept showing up in the first book and he kept giving me all these like butterfly insane feelings, and I think his book might be my like favorite romance ever once I get to it. So if I get to those, then I'm definitely getting to this because I enjoyed the series so far, at least the first one, and I definitely want to see this through. Again, it really depends, but because this is a romance, there's a good chance that I will, because sometimes when I'm reading like a bunch of books, I love reading like romance as palate cleanser in the middle, and so if I kind of use the series as palate cleanser throughout and whatnot, I will catch up, and then by the point I'm caught up or whatnot, then I will get to this. But that's it might happen. It really depends because this is further along in the series, but I will get to this at some point, even if I don't get to it next year, and so we'll just have to see. Okay, so I read the War of Lost Hearts kind of series by this author this year. I still have like the very last full-length book to read and the prequel novella, but so far I really enjoyed it. And the last book in that series, actually, I want it to be either the last book I read this year or one of the first ones of next year, because I kind of want to see it through and see where that story goes. And so because I enjoyed that, I kind of want to go back and read more of this author's backlist because it's a fun old time. And so I feel like I definitely will get to the Serpent in the Wings of the Night series. It's just, again, this is further along and it's gonna probably be a bigger fantasy, which is why it really depends. If I end up enjoying that, then I know I will read this, but at some point I definitely will get to it because I really enjoyed this author's books, those ones specifically, Daughter of No Worlds and whatnot, which is why we'll have to see, but that's gonna happen at some point too. Okay, this one I'm definitely reading. Probably not the day it comes out, but I will be reading it because I read the first in the series this year, Story of My Life, around the time it came out. And it was like a slower burn, but I feel like the humor was funny. The romance, towards the beginning, it was great. And then the side characters and whatnot, they actually built the story for me. And I can't wait to see where the continuation books progress for the rest of the brothers and stuff in the series, because I loved every second. I feel like the whole small town vibes and whatnot, and then the found family and everything else, and the huge actual family he's got and whatnot. Can't wait to see where it goes. Can't wait to see where these specific characters get their book going and whatnot, which is why I'll be getting to this sometime in the new year. Don't know when, but I will. Okay, so my friend, funny story, actually has the first book in the series as a physical copy, and she's always wanted to like read it or whatnot, and ever since she actually found out about it and told me about it, I thought the premise was interesting enough that I wanted to read it too. Except the thing with her is she's kind of like a busier student because she's pursuing like a different degree, and so she doesn't really have a lot of time to read, which is why she reads only like a select few books throughout the year. Which means if my friend reads the first book in the series and then I end up buddy reading with her, and if we enjoy it, then if she's got the time, we will continue to see the series through and read it, which is why this is kind of like a huge if kind of situation. I wouldn't necessarily count on it because we have plans for like other books throughout next year, but we'll just have to see again because we are kind of like an unpredictable duo. We'll just do something if we feel like it, and so if it happens, it will happen, but it's probably only gonna be happening and whatnot if I do it with my friend, which is why we'll have to see again. But then this is like a maybe if it ends up happening, because listen, if it's part of book club, I cannot not read it. You know what I mean? This one, I definitely do believe I will be getting to it next year because I have only 3 books, I think, left in the current series that I'm reading of the Stormfords. I think it's the series with Mile High and whatnot. I don't know what it's actually called, but I read The Right Move, the second one, recently, and while it wasn't like my favorite, it was definitely better than Mile High. And so I have had the urge since I finished that one to kind of continue the series and see it through because, again, I've heard only good things for the rest of the books on the internet, which is why, again, we'll just have to see. If I end up getting to them, which I most likely will, there's like a 90% chance, then I will read this around the time it comes out. But again, we'll have to see. So it's like a maybe on the more positive yes kind of side, which is why here we are. I did not realize Jeanette McCurdy is coming out with a new book. I just went ahead and checked this out and I just found out. But all I'm gonna say is yes, 100% yes. Have I finished Glad My Mom Died and it's been a couple years since and I still think about it sometimes? Absolutely. So I have to see where her next book goes, and yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. I don't even know. Wait, hold on. Let me add it to my want to read. Now you know I'm going to be getting to it because it's on my want to read. I have no excuse not to. And it's Jeanette McCurdy. This is like my Super Bowl finding out. It's such a good day now that I know she's coming out with a new book, because what do you mean? What do you mean I was not aware? Because like, I remember enjoying that book so much, which means this is probably going to be another like 5-star or something like that. We'll have to see, but I'm definitely reading this. Okay, this one is another questionable maybe because I haven't read a single book by this author yet in my life, but I have the first one in this series specifically. It's called The Night and something, I believe, downloaded to my Kindle, and every time I go back and look back at it, and I have like the wildest, biggest urge to pick it up. And so, because there's only one book before it, and I think it's going to be a duology only, I will definitely get to it because I love reading those kind of series and whatnot. They kind of hook you in and there's just the right amount, which is why this is probably going to be a most likely if I get to the first one again. But I think I will in the new year because I've been wanting to read that for a while now. I've heard only good things, and so it's probably going to happen. Finlay Donovan, I don't know why, but I actually heard about the first book in this series and whatnot. I think it was through Haley Fam actually, and she kind of had like a great time reading it. She described the premise in this really fun way, which is why I still have to go back and read it. But if I read the first book, and if it turns out to be great, and if I continue the series, this is like, again, a bunch of ifs in the kind of storyline sense. More of like making a joke of myself if I don't end up doing it. But if I do, and if I really enjoy it, then I will read it. But then also this is too far deep into the series, which means I need to really connect to these characters and kind of really enjoy the books in the sense that they need to all be 4.5 stars if I have to get to this point. But if I do, and if I see it all through, then it could happen in the new year. A huge maybe, but it probably will, if all of that happens. See, the thing is, books like these, wherein they kind of promise you like a serial killery vibe or whatnot, they kind of always hook me in the sense that I want to see it through, I want to see where it goes, because serial killer perspective thrillers are my favorite and whatnot, but then usually they end up turning out to be disappointments. So again, if this one becomes like popular online and stuff and people end up loving it, only then will I get to it. I won't actually on my own free time. Again, it really just depends on a bunch of things, but if people love it, then I will get to it because those are my favorite kind of thrillers ever. It's just I probably won't get to it by myself because of the fact that I've read so many of this sort that at this point it really needs to be good and hold my attention for me to enjoy it, which is why a huge maybe, but we'll have to see. See, same thing again for this one because the cover is not very great actually, I'm so sorry, but the title is really enticing. So again, it depends. If the internet loves it and if it's like really popular online, then I'll have to see if I end up getting to it, because I trust people's opinions a little too much when it comes to reading sometimes, and so we'll just have to see. But I know I won't get to it on my own time because number one, that cover is not appealing, I'm so sorry. But number two, sometimes they promise a lot and then they don't end up delivering on it, which is why I don't want to be disappointed yet again, and so we'll just have to see. So I was scrolling through the list just now, kind of going through the rest of them, seeing any that call out to me catch my eye. And this one, I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know shit about it, but for some reason the cover is so cute that I'm kind of tempted to kind of read it. So we'll have to see, again, if it kind of becomes something the internet ends up loving, and then I'll pick it up. But then it really just depends on a bunch of things, because even if the internet doesn't love it and I'm looking for like a palate cleanser rom-com and this pops up on my Kindle at that point and I actually remember about it, then I will read it. Because for romances, if the cover calls to me in the moment, then I'm definitely picking it up. I know that's not a good way to read, but I'm still going to do it anyway, which is why, again, maybe, because this wasn't going to be on the list originally, but then it caught my eye. So what can I say? Sometimes these books kind of get me, and this one definitely got me in the moment. Okay, this series, I have the first one. I think it's called like Unsteady or something like that, downloaded to Kindle. And this year I was actually going to read it for the letter U, because I hadn't read anything at that point for the letter U for my reading journal when I was doing that journal vlog, except when I looked back and I checked on it, Unravel Me, the second book in Shadow Me, also starts with U, which means I was done with my U prompt, which is why I didn't have to get to it. But I still have the first book of this downloaded to Kindle, and then again, if I end up enjoying that, then I will get to this, because at this point this year at least, I have started a couple like sports romance series that are longer in length. Take in mind the Mile High series and whatnot. Again, don't know what that, actually I don't know what it's called. I think it's like Windy City or something like that. And then recently Behind the Net, and then I think I also started that one called Collide and whatnot. And so those series are like longer sports series, but for some reason I do want to go back and see them through, which is why if I end up enjoying this, I will see it through, because I always need some kind of romance to get me going, and this might be it, who knows. But this one, again, maybe, but the cover is calling to me, definitely. I know this is going to be a definitely not, but I'm just mentioning it for like joke's sake, so you can all laugh at me, because the like 2 or 3 books I've read by this author over the span of last year were horrible in my opinion, because they all have some sort of cheating. And so even if this book does normalize, and even if it does not normalize cheating, I'm not getting to it. 100% no. I just wanted to come in and say that just now, because for some reason having to say no to this is bringing me so much joy that I'm gonna give it to myself. Absolutely freaking not, because like, I'm sorry, it's just not gonna happen. This one, on the other hand, is definitely happening, because I recently read Quicksilver in that same journal chooses and whatnot video that I was talking about, because I needed like letter Q for my journal, and Quicksilver, come on, that's like perfect lining up. And it's the first in a series, so it definitely called to me with the cover and whatnot, the premise, and I ended up really enjoying that more than I thought I would, which is why I do want to see that series through, especially because the second book in the series only came out like a couple of weeks ago, and the first one especially ends on the biggest like plot twist cliffhanger ever. And so I'm definitely getting to the second book now, again towards the beginning of the year, which means this is definitely happening in 26, because I foresee myself reading the series and really loving it. And so this will happen. Again, I don't know if it'll happen on release day. If I get to Brimstone, the second one in the series, then it will happen on release day, because her books, the way that one held me, it's gonna happen. So this is gonna be a yes from me at least. Okay, and so I just continued scrolling, and as it turns out, we hit number 100, but I wasn't able to find any other book that I'd like to get to. So I think that's it for the new releases. If Freida McFadden comes out at any point in the year with another book, because at this point, I saw online that she publishes like 4 books a year, which is insane to me. I know I'll be reading that. I know I'll be reading Annabelle Monaghan's new book. It wasn't in this list, I couldn't find it, but I will. Regardless, I know I've seen the cover online, and even though I didn't necessarily like this year's book, I will definitely get to that one, because I love Nora Goes Off Script by her, so that's definitely happening. I know I want to read the second book in the Rose and Chains series. I know it comes out towards the end of the year, but I'm definitely getting to that, because the way Rose and Chains ends off, it's gonna be a crazy one. And I know finally I want to read the second in Nash Falls, because that one, I'm sorry, I recently read it, but the way it ended off was wild, and we had like 2 chapters for the very next book, and for some reason I decided to give myself pain. I ended up reading those 2 chapters, and now I want to see where the next book goes. It's just I don't have a copy yet, and the book comes out next year, so those are like 100% sure books I'm getting to next year. I don't think Emily Henry has announced a new book for hers next year. I'm not sure if she's putting one out, but if she does, that'll also be on my definitely there for 2026 list. But apart from that, off the top of my head at least, I can't think of anything else. So I think that's it for all the new releases that I'll be getting to next year. And now, not only has this made my life easy in terms of books that I have to go back and look back on, I think I also have some sort of like set TBR for 2026 made in my head, which is so fun, because now I'm actually aware of all the books on the radar that are coming out, and I know what to look forward to. Because listen, otherwise I'd just be lost at sea, kind of freaking out and figuring it out alongside BookTube. And while that's not bad, I feel like I need my own time to kind of process some books, and sometimes it's good to kind of go through the list on my own and figure it out for myself. So that's what we did, and so now we've reached the end of this vlog, because I am not going beyond 100. That's it. And I think I definitely did end up covering majority of the ones I want to get to next year, which is why here we are. We've now reached the end of this sit down video. Hopefully you guys had a fun time coming along with me, and hopefully you also were able to catch up on some new release books that you'd like to add to your TBR for next year, because there's nothing like getting to a good new release book that you've been anticipating for so long. On the day it comes out, you wake up early in the morning like it's Christmas Day, run to the bookstore, get it, and actually have a good time reading it, because again, there's nothing like that kind of feeling. So hopefully you were able to add at least a couple from this to your own TBR as well. And hopefully you were also made alert about a couple new books that, you probably didn't realize were out there, especially me with Jeanette McCurdy, because I'm still freaking out. As soon as I'm done recording, I'm going to go look it up online and actually figure out what people are saying. But yeah, that's it for this one specifically. If you guys had a fun time coming along with me, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them. And now that we've reached the end of this vlog, I'll see you tomorrow, because I want to do all 24 days now. I'm locked in and too far gone, which is why I'll just see you tomorrow once I do for the daily routine of our Bookmas December, which is why that's it. See you guys tomorrow. Until then, take care, stay safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And you know what? Since I'm gonna be seeing you anyway, I'll see you then. That's it. Bye.